What is up, Sports Ramblings fans? We have another special guest with us. We have our everyone's favorite screen refresh glitch because Discord hates me, and we have our second favorite Nebraska fan, Trenton Kuda, with us to discuss coaching carousel.
Oh, come on, no love.
Shout out
to Jordan Schraub.
Shout out to the Schrodinger. No.
I see how it is.
We
Why isn't he on the show?
You see, Trenton, you might have just earned some points.
Right now. He's working right now.
Also
He's
true.
busting his hump.
Maybe. So, anyways, we're here to discuss the regular season of college football has come to a dramatic finish. We still have conference championships, which should be fun, but we also have one of the most interesting parts of the year, the coaching carousel, which is why we have a Nebraska fan with us, mainly because we want more special guests. Because the more the merrier. A lot of people enjoyed Andrew Thomas in our last one. Again, shout out to AT and the Houston Astros. If you haven't checked out that video, go check it out on YouTube. But mainly, we're just gonna jump right in. So, college football, things are done. Another quick reminder, if you'll notice down below on the little scrolling ticker tape thing, I have also included the basketball top 25 because I was bored and I needed something to be proud at Notre Dame about, and women's basketball and hockey are too obscure for a mainstream sports show. So we have basketball rankings. So if you're confused at why Creighton's ranked, that's why. By the way, shout out to, again, Jordan Schraub and the Blue Jays.
Hey, they had a hell of a tournament. They should have beat Baylor, but they just had to blow it in that second half. They couldn't hit a shot to save their
In
life.
their preseason tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Creighton fans there. That was a wild scene, I'll tell you that much.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was in Kansas City, so take that with a grain of salt.
That's like 3 hours away. That's
basically a home game.
That's right next door. So do we want to talk about basketball first, since we're kind of on that right now? We can kind of just jump right in, or should we talk about football?
I mean, we did bring on Trenton for the coaching rumors or lack thereof in Lincoln, since it seems like it might be a done deal.
All right.
Oh, come on.
So college football. Before we get into any of the games, a lot of major programs have already made changes. UCLA fired Jim Moore and stole Chip Kelly, from who was thought to have a done deal with Florida. But whenever you send a private jet with about 6 or so bigwigs up to New Hampshire, where Chip was living, working for ESPN, and they don't come back with him, you kind of go like, chomp, nervous skater chomp. Oh no, fuck you, Florida. You deserve to get screwed over. But instead, Florida got Dan Mullen from Mississippi State. It was a matter of time before Mullen was going to leave Mississippi State. I mean, it's kind of the hardest program to win at in the SEC, definitely the SEC West. So probably a good move for Dan Mullen, good hire for Florida, I would say. So those two have been filled, and on top of that, Nebraska has fired Mike Riley, may he rest in peace. Kevin Sumlin has been fired from Texas A&M, despite doing about as well as he could have. Tennessee, of course, fired Butch Jones, and that's a very juicy one due to recent events. Arkansas fired Brett Bielema, shocker there. Arizona State fired whoever the hell their coach was. I can't remember his name right now. Tim will probably know it.
Todd Graham.
Graham. There you go. See, Tim, that's why we have Tim on the show. I can't do a sports show by myself because I need my walking encyclopedia, Tim Zidonic, the general. So, Tim, what other head coaching jobs? Did I nail all the big ones? Did I mention all the main ones that are open as of this moment, or have been shuffled to this point?
I think you got the big ones. But yeah, those are the big ones I can come to mind. A few more might come open in the next couple of weeks, maybe after bowl season is over. But I need to nail the major ones right now. So.
Mm-hmm. And it does seem that if any other major jobs are going to come open, it's going to be like, well, Mississippi State because of Dan Mullen. I didn't explicitly mention that one. But it's going to be situations like that where a coach from a Power 5 school goes to another better Power 5 school. So We have Trenton here for a reason. Nebraska fired Mike Riley. Trenton, who is Nebraska going to hire?
It's not even a question at this point.
I don't
They
think
had the deal. There are rumors that this deal has been signed for the last 3 weeks. It's Scott Frost and UCF. Well, hear me out. Hear me out. Nebraska played at Penn State the same weekend UCF played at Temple in Philadelphia. Bill Moose, the athletic director for Nebraska,
the new athletic director.
Yes, after firing he that shall not be named for Nebraska fans. But he is denying somewhat claims that he took a side trip to Philadelphia while his Huskers were at College Station. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You just gotta love these kinds of coaching rumors. Like, this is the kind of stuff that makes the wheel go round. Like these little nuggets of wisdom, hints of coaching rumors that come about that I think just make the coaching carousel fascinating.
Oh yeah,
that's good for 5 or 10 clickbait articles.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, ESPN's going downhill, so they need to go take some notes after BuzzFeed. But I mean, I even saw something where Scott Frost's mom, who still lives in Nebraska, was like, I don't know what Scotty's going to do in terms of jobs, but I'd really like for him to come home.
Yeah, with the new grandson. Yeah,
I mean, I think that is a done deal. I mean, if you're undefeated at Central Florida. Fun fact: Scott Frost and Central Florida is the first program to go from a winless season to an undefeated season. Little nugget of information there.
And Notre Dame fans, do you know who that winless coach was for UCF?
That was George O'Leary, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Coach of Notre Dame for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Rip.
Don't lie on your resumes, kids. It comes back to haunt you.
I mean, everyone lies on their resumes, but
and we'll forget the fact that he was in a Fiesta Bowl just 2 years prior.
We'll just forget that.
Anywho, so Nebraska and Scott Frost does seem to be a done deal. We'll see how that goes in the future. So we can, I mean, I feel like that's the most boring guest commentary we will ever have, but it's also not your fault. It does seem like
I found it pretty interesting. I know what you're talking about, Mikey.
Shut up, Tim. You're anyhow, Scott Frost does seem to be a good hire for Nebraska. The main question is, how is he going to... I mean, the biggest struggle with Nebraska football joining the Big Ten was they lost that Texas and Oklahoma recruiting base. The Big Ten, the Great Lakes, is not... it's not as fertile as Texas is in terms of good football players. There is a lot of great talent there. There's just so many schools drawing from that area, and you're not exactly gonna put together a top 10 recruiting class in this within a 4-hour drive of Lincoln, Nebraska. So definitely his biggest challenge is gonna be recruiting. I think clearly he's an offensive guru. UCF not only wins, but they win big all the time. They just score points on points on points. It is the American, but it is the Power Six, as they do say. So I think that's about as good of a hire as Nebraska can get. I mean, reasonably. I'm not, obviously you're not going to get Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or anyone like that. But I feel like this is about if Nebraska does end up sealing a deal with Scott Frost, it's going to be a big time for the Huskers. And they might actually be able to be competitive against Wisconsin, maybe return to the Holy Land of 9-4 as the great martyr Bo Pelini would have it.
So. Hey, but you can't be a Bo Pelini team if you don't give up a good 300, 400 yards on Wisconsin.
if Wisconsin doesn't set a rushing record against Nebraska, was it even a football game?
Hey, that record got erased the next week when Oklahoma put up more yards than someone else. I can't remember. So. It's ancient history at this point.
Oh yeah, no one remembers that. No one remembers that. Never happened.
No one remembers like 2 years ago,
No, I mean,
2 years ago.
since Alabama wins championships, what are you talking about?
There's a playoff now? The BCS was a thing? What are you talking about?
I thought they just played bowl games and there was people arguing because two teams were voted number one. I don't know. Back in a lot of triggered people. Anyhow, claimed titles. Roll Tide. Anyhow, other coaching vacancies that have kind of interesting talk around them. Who's A&M gonna get? Who's Arkansas, Tennessee, and Arizona State? Arizona State, I have no fucking clue. I don't know anything about the Pac-12. Chip Kelly's a fantastic hire for UCLA. If nothing else, then he's not going to Gainesville. As they say for my beloved Tigers, it's better to face the enemy you know than the enemy you don't know. LSU's played Dan Mullen. They've definitely struggled against him. And Nick Fitzgerald and Dak Prescott, by struggle, I mean, actually lose to Michigan State at some point.
What happened this year?
That game didn't happen. It got canceled because of a hurricane, something like that. Go Gators. That probably no, actually, factually the worst loss of LSU's season, and probably Mississippi State's biggest win of the season. So we'll see how he does in the Jorts capital of the world with better talent. Now, sticking with the SEC, we're going to cover. Let's talk about Arkansas. Arkansas made the dumb mistake of bringing in a pro-style coach in a division where you have Alabama with a pro-style offense and LSU with a pro-style offense, both with significantly better players than you will ever get in Arkansas. Now, what have we learned from Dan Mullen and Dak Prescott and them, from Ole Miss and the Hugh Freeze cheating teams, the number one recruiting class at Ole Miss that is, coming down to hit. Ole Miss, by the way, signed their interim coach, Matt Luke or whatever. We'll get to that in a second. Let me continue on this. And then A&M with Johnny Football and all that. You don't beat Alabama by doing the same thing as Alabama. The only way you can beat Alabama is with a different scheme. Even look at Deshaun Watson or Ohio State a couple years back. Alabama doesn't lose to the same type of offense as Alabama. So Arkansas needs to get a flashy offensive guy, which two people that I have heard their names thrown around are everyone's favorite Joey Freshwater, Lane Kiffin out of the FAU, coming back to the Power 5, or Mike Leach from Wazoo, big time offensive coach, and his athletic director left him for some crappy school in Nebraska, and the only Power 5 team in Nebraska. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So
show me the money.
So I think, either one of those would probably be good for Arkansas. As a fan of a division rival, I'm kind of hoping they make another idiotic hire or pull up someone from like Arkansas State or a group of 5, or hell, even a higher high school coach. That'd work out well. But between those, I don't know. What do y'all think about the whole Arkansas coaching position? Who would you like to see there? Who would be good for Arkansas? Obviously, I would like, I'd like Tim to be the Arkansas head coach, because then they'd go 0-12. So Big Sue.
Hey.
No, yeah, you'd be like Grambling or whatever.
Give me a couple wins, Mikey.
How many FCS schools are you scheduling?
3. Every single non-conference game.
Oh my god. So what's happening with Arkansas boys?
Little Rock.
Well, I think the home run hire for Arkansas at this point, especially since Chip Kelly is now off the table, would be Lane Kiffin. Because what I've heard is that his offensive coordinator at FAU right now is Kendall Briles, Art Briles' son. So you essentially have Lane Kiffin running Art Briles' offense at Arkansas, which, as you said, Mikey, if you're going to win at Arkansas, you need to have a schematic advantage. That's why Petrino was successful there. You need to have a schematic advantage. So
he wasn't successful.
Okay. I'm going to stop you there. if they hire Lane Kiffin, the odds of it ending the same way it did for Bobby
are
pretty
high,
damn high.
which is amazing.
Pretty high.
We need this. We need Lane Kiffin in the Power 5. He's amazingly interesting to follow in the group of 5. Like, his FAU trolling of everyone from Tennessee to Alabama, just everyone, is fantastic. The college football world needs Lane Kiffin at Arkansas. Make it happen. By the way, rest in peace to their athletic director as well. Still serving on the football playoff committee, so
Chairman.
Is he chairman still?
No, that's the Texas Tech athletic director.
He was
Okay,
chairman.
he was chairman last year.
He was for like a year.
Pig suey. Yeah, I think Lane Kiffin is what Arkansas needs to do. Again, hoping facetiously they do something stupid. Also, someone who has done something stupid. Ole Miss promoted their interim coach to full-time, Matt Luke. There must be something else in the pipeline from the NCAA coming down for them just to be like, you know what? Have a paycheck. Just don't make things worse. There has to be some worse sanctions coming down or something else in the pipeline for them to just settle and not even go for a big-time coach.
Honestly, he did quite a good job this year with all of the distractions around that program. To get even close to 500 was quite an accomplishment. And honestly, looking at the market right now, what other home run hires is Ole Miss going to get?
Oh, absolutely.
With that cloud above them.
I mean, would you go to Ole Miss or would you want to go to Tennessee or A&M or if it was still open, Florida? Yeah. I mean, hell, even Arkansas might be a better gig. I don't know. Just Arkansas is probably a comparable gig just from me just thinking on the top of my head. But yeah,
without the sanctions, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Ole Miss definitely needs to just kind of ride out the storm, and apparently he is the guy to do it. I'm perfectly fine with them getting blown out to LSU every year. So go hotty toddy, boys and girls. Tim, do you have anything to say about the Rebels / Black Bears / Land Sharks / we have a mascot identity crisis because racism and political correctness?
I mean, like Trenton said, I think, first of all, Land Shark defense is dead. They gave up 66 points to Alabama. That's not cutting it. That's no Land Shark D. That's zero D.
You mean they can't get good players without paying them?
No. Well, I mean, in real talk, I like Chen said, I think Matt Luke did about as good of a job as he could have done this year. They got to 6-6, which is pretty darn good considering all the off the field stuff they were dealing with. And like you said, Mikey, I think Ole Miss is just kind of like riding out the storm. They're like, you know what? Let's just stick with this guy right now. It was his dream job to be the head coach at Ole Miss. So let's make it happen for him for a couple of years instead of having to go out and drop a big paycheck on someone like Lane Kiffin or Mike Leach or someone like that. When we know we're not going to go to a bowl game for another year or so anyway. So I mean, Ole Miss is just kind of like, you know what? This is the best thing for us right now. We're running out the storm, and then once these next couple of years are over, then we'll see where we're at and we'll reevaluate.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, absolutely, definitely agree with you. Kind of all on the same page here with the Rebel Bear Land Shark thing. It's like Man Bear Pig, but it's Rebel Bear Shark.
Half bear, half rebel, half shark. I'm super serial, guys.
A little south.
Wasn't Admiral Akbar up for mascot, if I remember right?
I think they have tried that. I mean,
oh my god!
I think half of Ole Miss, or there's half of Ole Miss that's let the band play Dixie, bring back Colonel Reb, tradition. Kind of inviting the storm of political correctness to fall upon Oxford, Mississippi. Those people are crazy, but I can definitely see where they're coming from. And then there's the trolls. There's the people like, let's be Admiral Akbar. Let's just, let's be the Star Wars rebels. Let's just, throw everything to the wind, not take our program seriously anymore, and just dick around in terms of the mascot and all that, and try and win football games the right way, whatever the hell that means. And then there's the administration that is making absolutely zero people happy. So, hotty toddy, gosh almighty, when's Ole Miss going to beat somebody? Oh, wait, they beat Mississippi State. Rip. Rest in peace to the Bulldogs of Stark Vegas. Their beloved the cowbells are clanging a little sadder today. The evil Florida Gators, which they are evil, I will give you that, have stolen their beloved savior Dan Mullen, who gave the Bulldogs their only #1 ranking in program history, and well, about as good as they've ever done. And how could you leave Starkville? Blah, 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 blah. Look, Starkville's not a good job. So who are you going to get? You're going to get someone. Yep. As much as Mississippi State fans are not going to like to hear it, it's a stepping stool job. You're in Alabama and LSU's division, and now that A&M's there, you are competing for 4th place at best. Not,
and if I remember right, his AD also left for Florida, right?
Yes, and then they promoted their baseball coach to athletic director and stole LSU's hitting coach as their baseball coach. College World Series. Go Tigers. Although I do love Andy Cannizaro. He's a fantastic baseball coach, and that is Mississippi State's sport. Getting off topic, but Mississippi State, I feel like, definitely is in the position where they're getting a group of 5 coach. I feel like the absolute ceiling for Mississippi State is Kevin Sumlin. But I don't know exactly what'll happen there. I don't know who will want him or where he'll go. I think Kevin Sumlin's a great coach. Just A&M is thinking they're a little bit better than they are too. A lot of pretty much every college football program has a bad case of hubris. Thinking they're a lot better than where they are. I can name 3 examples in this video right now. Notre Dame, Nebraska, and LSU, all guilty as charged. But I feel like Kevin Sumlin is about as good as Mississippi State can do. But other than that, I think they might go for Mike Norvell, who's the head coach at Memphis currently. Right? Is this the football? Or this is football. He's currently has the Memphis Tigers ranked 16. I feel like he might make a move somewhere, and Stark Vegas might be the place for him to go. Other than that, it's going to be someone I've never heard of. So, anyone know who the cowbell will toll for next season?
Chad Morris.
Chad Morris is going to A&M. That's my theory.
That's
calling out right now.
We'll do that next. So, Tim, who's going to Stark Vegas?
Well, it's probably a group of 5 guy. A guy I would throw his name in is maybe Charlie Strong, maybe. But don't know if he's ready to get back into Power 5 yet, considering Texas pretty much ran him out, and I don't think he wants to deal with that again. At least right now. I think Charlie Strong just kind of wants to chill at South Florida for a couple of years, and then maybe he'll be like, okay, I think I'm ready to take a big-time coaching gig again.
Especially if his rival at I-4, who is his only loss this season, am I correct?
He's got 2 losses.
Well, who, the one man standing in the way of that coveted American whatever division title is going to leave for the land of corn. And so things are going to get easier for him in South Florida.
Also, Mike Norvell's only loss to the same man.
Ooh, fun fact.
Just throw that out there, folks.
Just saying, the American may not be the Power 6, but they might be like AAA instead of AA. Just saying. Roll wave, go Stangs, other catchphrases from Group of 5 American schools. So anyway, I think
more on I-4.
So and I mean, we don't know a whole lot about the Mississippi State job. I saw that somewhere they had a poster wanting Les Miles because he had success at LSU, and the last LSU coach to go to another SEC school has won 4 titles. I'm like, you think Les Miles is going to do as well as Nick Saban at Mississippi State? Les Miles at Mississippi State is good as well as Nick Saban did at Alabama? You're smoking something weird in Stark Vegas. I mean, some construction from the baseball renovation or something's going on there.
Was that ever in question?
Les Miles, look, Les Miles. Yes, there's definitely something in the water in Stark Vegas. I mean, Stark Vegas. It's just a name, but Les Miles will probably is not the answer for a Power 5 coaching job, and probably won't take one because that reduces his LSU buyout. He's as old as Nick Saban, so how much left does he have in the tank? And if he's going to sputter off and pass his prime at LSU, he's not going to do better at a school with worse players. So, I personally enjoy Les Miles' podcast, Less is More. Check it out on iTunes from the Players Tribune. And I would be very distraught if I were to not have my Mad Hatter to listen to while editing this amazing Sports Ramblings video. So, I don't think Les Miles is the answer for any of these jobs. I also, also another thing about Les Miles not taking a job, people are like, oh, he's selling his house in Baton Rouge, he's going to go somewhere else. He just buys another house in Baton Rouge. So I
it's
think,
called an upgrade, folks, or a downgrade, depending.
I mean, he's downsizing. The kids are out of the house. The cash flow's a bit reduced as of late. His son's over there in Lincoln playing for the Huskers. He had him on one of the shows. His daughter, I think, just graduated from Texas. So Les is going to stay where he is if I had to guess. State, who knows what they're going to do? No one really cares what they're going to do because that's kind of the runt of the litter in the SEC West. Who is not the runt of the litter in the SEC West, and our amazing transition, is the Texas A&M Aggies, firing Kevin Sumlin after winning 2/3 of his games and joining the, at the time and probably arguably still the hardest division in college football. Apparently, coming in third is not good enough. 8-4 and 7-5 is not going to cut it for College Station. So, Kevin Sumlin, rest in peace. May you find a home somewhere more welcoming. Now, what's great for Kevin Sumlin is he has to have his buyout paid in full within 2 months, and it doesn't get reduced. So he's getting $10 million or something like that.
That's the way to do it.
He's getting $10 million before Mardi Gras. So,
oh boy.
Speaking of Mardi Gras, Kevin Sumlin could have a great party with his buyout. Now he'll probably get another job. I think he's too good. I think a lower tier Power 5 program like Mississippi State or Arizona State is going to look at Kevin Sumlin and say A&M just doesn't know how good they had it. They don't realize that the SEC West is really freaking hard, and unless you can get. I mean, it's going to be really hard to beat Nick Saban and LSU. So, Nick Saban, Alabama, and LSU, no matter who's at the helm there. So, Aggies are getting a little crazy there, thinking they can pull off the impossible and get Jimbo Fisher to leave Tallahassee. Now, granted, Jimbo Fisher has gone through a very recent nasty divorce. Some people say he wants out of Tallahassee, but I mean, I'm going to throw the arguments people threw at LSU last year and the year before when Jimbo wouldn't go there to at A&M. Why would he go to Nick Saban's division if he wants to win national titles? Why would he leave the ACC? Why would he go to a harder situation honestly, Tallahassee isn't great, but College Station is definitely not better. I mean, it'd be making things harder on himself when currently he is coming off of his worst year as a head coach. So I think Jimbo Fisher is a pipe dream for Texas A&M. If Jimbo Fisher were to go to Texas A&M, I feel like the entire state of Louisiana would just march on College Station and burn the place to the ground. That would be the second former LSU coach or almost LSU coach to go to a division rival. And yeah, I don't think Jimbo would have the dominance over LSU that Nick Saban would. So, Jimbo, if you're smart, go somewhere else or stay in Tallahassee. That's my advice to him. He has a massive buyout. He has a massive buyout if they fire him, but almost no buyout if he leaves. So, why would you leave Florida State when you got I mean, granted, this year's kind of a disaster, but you got the hurricane, your quarterback injured and all that. So, I don't know. Jimbo, don't piss off the Tigers. That's all I'm going to say. Don't make Mike angry. Mike will destroy you.
Don't poke the tiger.
Tim, what are the Aggies going to do? I said earlier in the show, I think the Aggies will go for Chad Morris. A&M, I know they kind of are saying they want to get away from this, but they like to go for that, that up-and-coming Group of 5 coach. I mean, Kevin Sumlin was from Houston. Chad Morris has turned SMU around from a 1-11 program to, 7-5 this year, I think they went. Making their first bowl game in a while, with a prolific offense, really good offense. They just don't have a defense, but, it's the first year of really his program there. So I think Chad Morris is the real deal. I know my sister doesn't know enough about football to care, but a lot of the guys she's friends with would be very upset if Chad Morris were to leave the Dallas area and go down south to the middle of nowhere. But I do feel like that is probably the most likely and the best fit for the Aggies. Tim, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Jimbo's a pipe dream for them right now. From what I've been hearing, it sounds like they are going to give Jimbo a very lucrative deal. But like you said, does he really want to leave Florida State for what's probably going to be a harder situation there at Texas A&M, having to play Nick Saban and LSU every single year? So I think that's a stretch for A&M fans. I think Chad Morris is definitely in reach. I've heard people throwing around Charlie Strong, but I'm like, I don't think he wants to go back to Texas. That's just a no. And I've heard his name. I'm like, I don't think that's happening. Just NO. Maybe Todd Graham now that he's out of ASU, but I don't know. I think right now Chad Morris is probably the ideal play. I doubt they would get Lane Kiffin. Maybe Mike Leach, I don't know. But
Mike Leach doesn't seem like a culture fit in College Station.
No, yeah, exactly. I think he's just not a culture fit there. I don't really see Mike Leach as an SEC coach, which is why I'm people have been throwing his name around at Tennessee, but I'm like you said, I don't know if that's a culture fit. So I don't know. Like you said, I think right now the most likely scenario is Chad Morris, but we'll see. I think ideal situation for A&M would be Jimbo, but again, that's pipe dream. Likely scenario is Chad Morris, and then worst case scenario is probably some other bumblefuck coach from some random Group of 5 school. Maybe Mike Norvell comes. Maybe, I don't know.
When in doubt, Mike Norvell.
That seems to be the fallback right now.
Yep.
So,
Trenton, do you have anything to add to this?
What would be interesting if Jimbo does in fact go to A&M? You know who would be a good fit at Florida State?
Who?
Kevin Sumlin.
Kevin Sumlin.
Oh.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah. Great offensive mind, good recruiter, perfect.
If the Florida State job opens up and they offer to Kevin Sumlin, that's a home run hire for them. I mean, not a home run, probably an inside the park home run, shall we say?
It's still a home run, either way you slice it.
I mean, I feel like that would be good. Again, if the Florida State job opens, I hope Jimbo goes somewhere elsewhere, not within the SEC West, ideally. So we'll have to see. He has to make his own decision. He turned down a lot of money 2 years in a row at a school he's more familiar with that gets better players and has, resulted in a lot of, many raises for him at Florida State. So we'll see. Who knows what's going through his mind as the Seminoles are preparing to take on the mighty UL Monroe Warhawks, with the Seminoles trying to make their bowl game. Apparently they have a streak going that they're trying to keep alive. So, Tomahawk Chop. Hope you keep your Coach Noel fans. Aggie fans, have fun breaking my sister's heart, taking Chad Morris. Gig 'em. So, now Tim, one thing I did think of. Charlie Strong to A&M. What if Charlie Strong went to A&M, they brought back the Texas A&M rivalry series, and Charlie Strong dominated Texas?
Mikey, the irony would just be unbelievable.
I've been on the receiving.
It would be like it would have been like if Lane Kiffin went to Florida and kicked Tennessee's ass every year.
It'd be like if Nick Saban went to Alabama and
never mind.
Rip LSU. Actually, not rip LSU. LSU's in pretty good shape, all things considered. Tennessee volunteer. Okay, we're not going to talk about Arizona State. No one cares about the Pac. I mean, people care about the Pac-12. Who knows who they're going to hire?
The rumor was actually Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
He had turned down the job earlier to take the A&M job, and now it's open at the same time again. But it doesn't sound like they've been having issues finalizing that contract.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only rumor I've heard for the Sun Devil job. Tim, are you hearing anything?
That's the first I've heard of it. But I think that'd be a great fit for Sumlin because he's an offensive mind. They love offense in the Pac-12. They love that flashy style of play. So, what was that?
Pac-12 After Dark.
Listen, if you haven't watched Pac-12 After Dark, you need to tune in. I know it's the end of the season, but note to self for next year, you need to check it out. It's fantastic stuff. Anyway, I think the Pac-12 would be, personally, it would be a better fit for Kevin Sumlin than a Florida State if Jimbo left. So, and plus, I think, yes, now Chip Kelly's there at UCLA, but I think the Pac-12 South is a much more winnable division right now than the ACC Atlantic is at Florida State.
Definitely much more winnable than the SEC West.
Oh, absolutely. So if I'm Kevin Sumlin, I think I would rather go to ASU right now out of any of those options we listed.
Yeah.
Just personally.
I agree. So, so that's that for ASU. Saving the juiciest one for last, the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, since the last episode, the beloved LSU Fighting Tigers went to Knoxville, played a game in the rain, showed why Coach O is the hero that America deserves. When it just monsoon pouring rain that knocked off part of the scoreboard that hit an old fan, that ESPN literally had cameras broken and had to go to field level shots at the start of the second half. Coach O in the tunnel, it's like, how are you going to deal with this? Where he's like, man, it's just like when you were a kid, you playing football in your backyard. You just got to love the football game. Go Tigers. Like, the Cajun Cookie Monster came out in full and just dominated Brady Hoke, the imposter.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. Imagine that. Brady Hoke, not a great coach. What? Butch Jones's players are still kind of So Tennessee is Tennessee's coming off the worst season in Volunteer football history. They were the second to last holdout of FBS teams to lose 8 games. The only school that has not ever lost 8 games in a season is Ohio State. Tennessee, literally their worst year ever. Thank you, Butch Jones, for all that you've done for the conference. But Tennessee had some groomers going for a while. John Gruden was the talk of the town, and then that just kind of vanished. And the word on the street was, you know what, we'll get Dan Mullen, right, guys? No, Chip Kelly to Florida, we'll get Dan Mullen. Well, you see, Chip Kelly decided, I don't want to be in Jortville. I'm gonna go to LA, where I've been a Pac-12 coach. That's my recruiting grounds. That's the kind of football I'm used to coaching. Let's go do that. Better be a big fish in a small pond than a big fish in an alligator swamp. So Florida got Dan Mullen, and Tennessee's like, oh no, there goes our idea. Florida just stole our coach, or the coach we wanted. What do? The athletic director panics and signs some guy named Greg Schiano, who I had never heard of before, and a certain We'll get into his history. Tim can give you the rundown of all that Greg Schiano has done. And a Tennessee Twitter mob, and among other things, just absolutely torpedoed that idea. There's absolutely no confidence in Tennessee's athletic director right now. Just Knoxville is burning right now. It's the Tennessee Civil War is going strong. National media weighing in on both sides. Tim, who the hell is, I forgot his name and I just said it.
Greg Schiano.
Greg Schiano. What?
So, what was that?
Go into his history. Where has he been before? Has he been involved in any scandalous activities? Spoiler, he has.
So Greg Schiano, the first time he kind of like came onto the scene was when he was the head coach at Rutgers for a few years back. But this was when Rutgers was still in the Big East. And he actually did serviceably well there. He actually made Rutgers, kind of relevant at football, which is an accomplishment in of itself. But then he never had a stellar record there. If I remember, I don't think he ever beat West Virginia there. And West Virginia was always like the Alabama of that conference back in the day.
I think he was one game over 500 in his career at Rutgers, and he only won about 1/3 of his Big East games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so certainly not like a home run coach. And then he coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFL for a few years, and it was just a disaster. From what I heard, the players hated him. No one wanted to play for him. I heard even Peyton Manning called him an asshole. And Peyton Manning almost calls no one an asshole. So if he's calling Greg Schiano a jerk, then you know it's bad. So he gets fired from the Tampa Bay Bucs because no one liked him there. Just awful locker room camaraderie. And before all this, he was also an assistant coach at Penn State and is listed in a court document that he supposedly saw Jerry Sandusky with a little boy in one of the bathrooms at Penn State and never said anything about it. He kind of mentioned it to one of their other assistant coaches, and that was it. So that was kind of like a big reason why Tennessee fans revolted, that he's got a shady history there. Connections to the Jerry Sandusky scandal, that, and also it was that, and they just also think that he's just not a good coach. He's just Butch Jones 2.0, and Tennessee fans, they've been dealing with this same kind of crap for the past 10 years, and they finally said, we've had enough. We are not going to accept this any longer. And so I think that's why they came out, and when they heard that Schiano, who, by the way, is the current defensive coordinator at Ohio State, when they heard that he was going to be the guy, they're like, no way, this is not happening. Twitter blew up. State representatives in Tennessee were involved. This was major, this is like the news of the decade. This was the story of the decade in Knoxville. And to me, this is one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen in the world of sports. I would have ever seen a fan base torpedo a coaching hire like this before. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's truly remarkable.
Also, defensive coordinator at Ohio State who gave up 55 points to Iowa. So clearly a brilliant football mind. Fair or foul? We'll go through everyone. Fair or foul? Tennessee torpedoing his hire. Tim.
Fair. I think it was. Honestly, I think it was fair. I think they had some valid points here. Like you said, they don't want to be connected in any way to the Jerry Sandusky scandal. Everyone just wants to move past that. So you have that, and like I said, he's just not proven. He's not proven. Players have said that they don't like playing for him, and why would you bring in a guy like that to fracture an already fractured fan base there in Knoxville? And so that's why I think that Tennessee fans had some reasons here to revolt like this. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like this again at another fan base. Maybe like maybe Texas A&M hires someone that they don't like, and they revolt. I mean, who knows? Maybe this becomes the norm in college football. I don't know. But all I can say is I've never seen anything like this before, and it's going to be very interesting to see if something like this happens again in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Drin, fair or foul?
Fair, but not for the reasons fans said it was.
Okay.
Looking back at kind of the accusations that they had on Greg, a lot of that's so unfounded. It's more of they're crucifying him by association. The fact that he was an assistant coach at Penn State during the same time, no, we can't have anyone even remotely associated with it. This is a guy who held, 2 head coaching jobs since that incident. Are you going to say that neither the athletic director or the GM at Tampa Bay didn't do a thorough vetting of this guy and looked into his background? I believe the Tampa Bay, he was there when all this came up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is where I do believe that's where he was employed when the Sandusky stuff came to light a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. So then at that point, why, if Tampa Bay honestly thought that he was involved in it at all, why didn't they terminate him then? And right now, he's the defensive coordinator at one of the top football universities in America, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But you think Urban wouldn't have talked about this at all with him? I don't think this would have come up. Now, his head coaching record, yes. Rutgers, he did a great job, but it wasn't spectacular. I've kind of seen this before. Mike Riley had a better than average career at Oregon State and brought it to new heights, but on the big stage it doesn't work. And Tennessee might have been looking that straight down. Yeah. So I think it was a good call to back out of this deal. He wasn't a right fit, but for the Sandusky ties, that's a stretch.
No. 100%. I also do think it's fair. I feel like the Sandusky stuff is more like, it's a lagniappe. It's more of an extra reason. It's like you're a bad coach and who knows what you've done. If Nick Saban were tied to the Jerry Sandusky stuff, Tennessee fans would be like, oh, that's just all, hullabaloo. That's just hearsay. He probably didn't do anything. We want him. Whether or not the Tennessee fans believe he was involved or not had everything to do with his success on and off the field. Now, here let me spin it to you this way: Would people be okay with Tennessee hiring Art Briles? Because if you won't hire Art Briles, you shouldn't hire Greg Schiano. Because they're very similar situations, both terrible, terrible scandals. Awful things happen at their universities. Both not necessarily confirmed to be involved in any manner. I do believe Baylor has exonerated Art Briles of any connection, and Schiano has very similar lack of basing of the claims of Penn State. But you know what? No one wants to touch Art Briles with a 41.5-foot pole, just like as they say in the Grinch song. I mean, a freaking CFL team torpedoed Art Briles to be an assistant coach. If no one's going to hire Art Briles, who's an infinitely better coach than Greg Schiano could possibly be, you're not going to hire Greg Schiano. If Tennessee said they were going to go after Art Briles, it would have been the opposite. Instead of the sports media being outraged at the torpedoing and the fan base wanting to torpedo and the sports media saying you should go with this, it'd be the opposite. The fan base would be like, hell yeah, let's go. He didn't do anything wrong. Let's have a Baylor offense at Tennessee. And then the sports media would be like, how could you deal with them? So the hypocrisy, there's no way to tell, but we saw it happen with the CFL team. What would happen if someone tried to hire Art Briles, especially right now? I know the Baylor stuff is a little bit more recent memory, but they're such similar situations in terms of the severity of the scandal and the currently known level of involvement. So I do think that torpedoing the hire because of the Sandusky stuff is not necessarily the main reason. But here's the thing: he's not good enough to overlook that connection. If unless you're the second coming Maybe if you were great at Tampa Bay and a little bit better, better than one game over 500 at Rutgers in the Big East, maybe then, Tennessee would have overlooked. Tennessee fans have overlooked that and gone with it. But quite frankly, I don't blame them. I hadn't heard of this guy before the whole Tennessee's tiring this guy, we need a torpedo. And I'm, just sitting there watching Knoxville burn and all that. So, he doesn't, again, Art Briles. If you're not going to hire Art Briles, you shouldn't hire Greg Schiano. That's, if you want to hire someone with a sketchy past, that's the guy to go to. Tennessee needs to go for someone who doesn't have a sketchy past. Quite frankly, the way things are going right now, they need a Tennessee guy. But I'll say one last thing about Greg Schiano. Is Urban Meyer really the best judge of character? He did have Aaron Hernandez play for him. Let's just always remember that.
That is fair. That is fair.
Mean, I'm not going to bring up any more examples, but that's a pretty...
No, that's a valid point.
Ezekiel Elliott allegedly may have done some stuff. He has done some stuff, but...
And don't even touch Florida.
Question of character. Oh, my God. Florida. Gator chomp. Tennessee. So given that groomers appear to be, not... since Gruden appears to be off the table, Dan Mullen went to Florida. What does Tennessee do? Mike Norvell, Mike Leach, Kevin Sumlin. I mean, I've heard rumors of Peyton Manning coming. Apparently Jason Witten has said he will stop playing for the Dallas Cowboys and become the Tennessee head football coach. I mean, what do the Vols do? Do they go with this, what, screw it, let's just swing for the fences and bring Jason Witten in from the glory days of Tennessee to see how he is as a coach? Do they bring in one of the most beloved football minds in the world, Peyton Manning? I mean, what is Tennessee going to do now? That's what's interesting. And I mean, who's going to want to go to Tennessee as not a Tennessee guy for this whole debacle? Unless, I do think Greg Schiano is about the lowest of the low. I don't think Tennessee fans would have torpedoed Norvell or another pretty good group of five coach or whatever. They'd probably been like, okay, whatever. But now Tennessee, because of that whole situation, because of the situation the athletic department has put themselves into, the Vols are in a very tight... They're between a rocky top and a hard place.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Tim, take it away.
Like you said, I think Tennessee's got themselves in a very interesting spot now, where they go with this coaching search now. Their athletic director, John Curry, is now in the spot of well, crap, I got to make a great hire here, otherwise I'm getting fired because the fans and the boosters aren't going to tolerate this anymore. Like you said, I've heard Mike Norvell's name thrown around. His name's everywhere right now, it seems like. Kevin Sumlin, honestly, I think Kevin Sumlin is probably their best bet right now, especially since John Gruden isn't going to happen. Chip Kelly's taken. Dan Mullen's taken. Kevin Sumlin might be the best guy right now. We've mentioned Mike Leach, but again, is he a culture fit in the SEC? No. We don't know. Probably not. Another name I've heard is Willie Taggart, who was the head coach at South Florida before Charlie Strong got there. Basically built that team that Charlie Strong has now, and he's currently the head coach at Oregon, who's been having an okay year there, but Oregon's got some rebuilding to do there too. So I've heard Willie Taggart's name thrown around. And then, so those are kind of the more logical options. And then you've got the kind of way out of left field options of Peyton Manning and Jason Witten, which I think those are funny stories. Don't think it's actually going to happen.
I would love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen. I would just love to just watch Dallas explode if Grant, no one in Dallas cares about SMU, but if Chad Morris leaves SMU for A&M and Jason Witten retires mid-season to become a college coach, that's when the NFL fans come out the woodwork like, why would you go to college? College isn't as good as the NFL. And the rest of college football is just like, good one. Scoreboard. College football is by far a superior entertainment product than the NFL. I would love to see one of those ridiculous hires for Tennessee just because I just want to see what happens. I want to see something different. I want to see, I loved how LSU is like, let's go with Coach O and throw all our money at assistant staff. I want to see, more unique things like that. You're not going to, again, there's a man that you have to beat in Knoxville, and that man is Nick Saban. You got to do something special to beat Nick Saban. Why not try something different? So, Trenton, what should the Vols do?
First off, for Willie Taggart, he's not going to leave Oregon. The reason why I think they were 6-6 this year.
Something like that.
Their starting quarterback, who had a hell of a start, Justin Herbert, got hurt halfway through the season, and they kind of collapsed on offense after that. Fun fact, Justin Herbert recruited by Scott Frost. On that same line, in the 1997 National Championship, Scott Frost beat Peyton Manning's Vols for the National Championship. But don't worry, the Vols only had to wait one more year for the National Championship. The quarterback for that team, T. Martin. He is the offensive coordinator at USC right now. If you're looking for a safe hire for the Vols, he's done pretty well there. He had Sam Darnold, and they've done pretty well on offense this year. So why not look there?
Might win the Pac-12. Might make the playoffs. Who knows? Please no. But anyway,
that's the name I've heard too. I've heard T. Martin again because Tennessee guy, and I think that's who Tennessee wants right now. They want one of their own, not someone who's going to fracture an already fractured fan base.
Yep. Tennessee needs a hybrid of what LSU did with Coach O, but a better coach. They need, LSU got the LSU guy and said, you know what, we're going to put all of our X's and O's advantage into our assistants of Dave Aranda and Matt Canada. Tennessee's going to be like, you know what, we're going to do that, but not to the extreme that LSU does. We need a Tennessee guy that can do some coaching on his own and then build a good staff and make Rocky Top great again. So, it's going to be fun. I mean, the offseason, as we shift to basketball and all of that, we're still going to have coaching stuff to talk about, bowl season and all that. But we also are going to have going to be able to, right now, what we're going to do, I think we should transition to college football and where the season stands right now. So, just going to quickly run over the conference championship picture, the Power 5 conference champions picture. Then we'll probably talk a little bit about Nebraska finished 4-8. Trenton, you don't have to talk about it unless you really want to. But we'll talk about LSU and Notre Dame as we tend to do, and maybe throw in some other nonsense in there. But right now, here's your conference championship games. In the SEC, you have the 2-loss Auburn Tigers, War Damn Eagle, thanks for winning the Iron Bowl, against the Georgia Bulldogs, whose only loss is to War Damn Eagle. That is in the new Mercedes-Benz metal Chinese takeout box and will be fantastic. In the ACC, the Convicts take on the reigning national champions. Both teams have a loss. Both teams' losses are inexcusable to worse teams. Clemson did lose a quarterback in their loss to Syracuse, but it's a 5-7 Syracuse team, and Miami lost to Pitt.
Ouch.
That was funny. So, ACC championship game is what we just mentioned, Miami versus Clemson in the Belk Bowl Arena, also known as Bank of America Field or whatever, where the Panthers play there in North Carolina, right? Or did they move it? They didn't move
Charlotte.
it?
No, it's in Charlotte.
Okay. In the Big Ten, you have the 2-loss Ohio State Buckeyes versus the undefeated Wisconsin Badgers, who currently have diabetes from their cupcake schedule. Ohio State also extraordinarily overrated. Who loses to Iowa? That bad?
Let's not forget, Wisconsin did beat Florida Atlantic.
That's a huge win.
The FAU.
Yeah. I mean, beating Lane Kiffin's, it's a big deal, right?
That is.
Gotta count for something, man. It's gotta count for something.
It does count for something. I mean, Florida. I mean, come to the FAU, the real U in Florida.
Boca Raton all day, every day.
Dude, it's all about Boca. So that's what's going on there. In the Big 12, you have, let's add a conference title game because it'll help our team get in the playoff. Well, about that, you have a 1-loss Oklahoma versus a 2-loss TCU. If TCU beats Oklahoma, the title game that was put there to get a team in the playoff might prevent a team from the playoff. Very Big 12 of the Big 12 if that were to happen. Although, Boomer Sooner might win anyway, and it might be a non-factor. We shall see. And then in the Pac-12, Southern Cal Trojans just don't seem to ever go away. They just will not die. Versus the Stanford Cardinal, who, well, we're not exactly fans of them right now, are we? No, we're not.
No, we don't like the trees.
No. Yeah, the trees are really annoying. Like that, both the Notre Dame Miami game and the Notre Dame Stanford game, Irish finished 9-3. Those were incredibly frustrating in different ways. In Miami, just everything seemed doomed from the start. And then Stanford, well, it's a competitive game, pretty close. Things could be a lot better. And Notre Dame gets the ball. Stanford took like a 4-point lead or something. And Chris Fowler has to open his goddamn mouth. There have been no turnovers to this point in the game. What's happened? Notre Dame turnover. Stanford score. Kickoff. Notre Dame fumbles the kickoff. Stanford score. Notre Dame gets the ball back. Probably there was a third turnover. I stopped watching. The ABC just absolutely jinxed Notre Dame there. Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. I hate you so much right now. I mean, I hate Herbstreit anyway. I think he's a terrible announcer with takes that read at about 0 Kelvin. He's the most boring sports commentator there is in terms of his predictions and what he says. This is your average Kirk Herbstreit game day. Ohio State is good. Alabama is good. The good teams are going to win. The bad teams are going to lose. It's thanks. Congrats. Not a fan of Herbstreit, in case you couldn't tell. But Notre Dame, yeah. Leave it to Brian Kelly to go from 4-8 to 9-3 and have it be the worst possible way to go 9-3 that you might be able to imagine. I feel like what we're fed up with, or what the anger was after that Stanford game, is Brian Kelly, his games kind of go chalk exactly as you expect them to go. Is Notre Dame better than the team and at home? They'll win. Are they a lot better and on the road? Notre Dame will win. Is the team about as good or better and it's at Notre Dame, like Georgia? They'll lose. Is it a ranked team on Power 5 team on the road? Notre Dame will lose. It's he can't win a road game against a ranked Power 5 opponent. The last ranked opponent he beat on the road, I think, was Temple. Unbelievable.
Forgot about that game.
He's 7-22. I saw when trailing at halftime. That's just not good. That's why people are mad. And 9-3 is good. Notre Dame historically has averaged 8 wins a year if you look back at it. But also back in the day, you didn't play 12-game seasons, so I don't, 9-3 is about average. It is better than what we predicted at the beginning of the year. But again, Brian Kelly found the only way to go to exceed expectations, but also piss off the fan base. So it's unbelievable, Tim, isn't it, Trenton? What the shit, dude? Win a close game. Win on the road or something. Make Herbstreit get that that love propaganda off the air. I honestly should just mute the games whenever Notre Dame's playing on ABC. Truly. It drives me insane. I can't wait for ESPN to go bankrupt and those two men to not be employed calling college football. So...
I mean, like you said, Mikey, like Brian Kelly found like the worst way to finish 9-3. I mean, like I go back to what I said at the beginning of the season when I said Brian Kelly needed to win. He needed to win at least one of the 4 big games we had this year, and those were Georgia, USC, Miami, and Stanford. He goes 1-3 in those games. So he did beat USC, and he beat them pretty decisively here at home, which was fantastic. But as we mockingly mocked the Southern Cal Trojans, by the way, call them Southern Cal. They hate that. They don't want to acknowledge they're a directional
It's who they
school.
are. They are a directional school. It's a fact. They should have stuck to the Fighting Methodist mascot.
I think that's much better for them. So Brian Kelly does get that big win there here at home, but and the Georgia loss was by 1 point, and Georgia could be going to the playoff if they win the SEC title game now. But the thing is how he lost the games against Miami and Stanford, where we just kind of gave up and just looked like just dead fish in the water. That just did not sit well with many Irish fans. Like just those 2 games, big primetime games on the road against ranked Power 5 teams, and we just really did not show up. You know, the Stanford game was obviously a lot more competitive than the Miami game was, but we gave up there in the late in the third quarter and then in the fourth quarter. And I think that's just what really rubbed a lot of us the wrong way. Is that come on, really, you can't even make these games close. We look completely underprepared for these 2 games, and so I mean that's just where the frustration comes from. Honestly, I mean once the dust settles, we'll be like, you know what, we went 9-3 at you after going 4-8. All things considered, that's really freaking good. A lot better than I think a lot of us thought we were going to do this year. But those losses to Miami and Stanford, and even to Georgia, still leave a bad taste in a lot of our mouths. And I mean, here at Notre Dame, we're just kind of sick of seeing the same movie over and over again, where we've got a big game on a big stage, and we look underprepared. So I think that's just where people get rubbed the wrong way about this whole scenario. Hopefully, we salvage something in our bowl game, and we have something to look forward to next year. But really great season all in all, but definitely a very disappointing end of this last month.
Trin, what do you think about the Fighting Irish this year?
You'd love to see some development at quarterback sometime during Brian Kelly's tenure.
Tommy Rees,
yes.
do your job.
Yeah, Tommy Rees, Everett Golson. Kaiser, yes, he did develop slightly, but was he really that much
Kaiser
better
stalled.
of a player?
Kaiser stalled. That's the problem. That's why he's at the Cleveland Browns.
And honestly, the problem last year wasn't Kaiser; it was the defense.
Oh, absolutely.
But the development across this team is so uneven. But offensive line, really good. Linebackers consistently developed well. What about the secondary?
A stud. Finally, we're developing secondary players.
Okay, yeah. But Julian Love, what is he? A true sophomore?
Yeah.
Is that development, or is that raw talent? How is he going to look 2 years down the road?
Stay tuned.
Yeah. There has yet to be a defensive back that I thought was amazing during their freshman and sophomore year, and look at them senior year, and they're All-American caliber. Kavari Russell, for instance, looked just like Julian Love at this time in his career. By the time senior year rolled around, he was no one at that point. It's interesting. And also his assistant coaches' choices have been strange at times. Like Tommy Rees is quarterback's coach. Sure, he's associated with the program, but he's been coaching for how many years?
Not many.
You couldn't find anyone
He played
better?
while we were students.
Yes. You can't find any better quarterback's coach.
At Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yes.
This isn't like, this isn't the UL Lafayette Raging Cajuns hiring Jake Delhomme as a quarterback.
This isn't East Popcorn Butthole State, This is the University of Notre Dame.
We're kind of up there on the all-time win list, win percentage, national titles, Heisman's, all that stuff. We're a big deal. We're kind of has-beens, but we're still a big deal. Better to be a has-been than it never was, right, Nebraska?
Oh.
Is that too soon?
Hey,
compliment.
At least we fire our coach when we go 4-8.
Hey.
We wish we were there too. Okay. Unbelievable. But yeah, the way I see this season is the season seemed to kind of regress a little bit. It started off okay. September was okay. October was fantastic. And then November sucked. Like, if you play the season in reverse, I think we're thrilled. I think we're so happy with how things turned out. But because things seem to regress, we gave up 30-something points to Wake Forest. We get embarrassed on the road and don't even show up to Miami. We have a decent game. You chalk that one up to weather, if you will. But Navy game, not the prettiest game ever. And then you choke in the late, fourth quarter at Stanford. Like, things seem to regress. If you look at the season backwards, it's a story of a program getting turned around, learning some discipline, and putting together a good offense. But, in the end, how it actually happened is we became too one-dimensional. Apparently, Brandon Wimbush in his third, after 3 full years, he's a, academic junior. You'd think he would have a passer rating above 50%. Or something. Fantastic runner. Brandon Wimbush, definitely, earned us some of those 9 wins on his own. But at the same time, he's not as good of a passer as he should be. Some of that's wide receivers, but for God's sake, develop your team and get better over the course of the season. Look at Auburn. Auburn looked like trash at the beginning of the season against Clemson, blew a 20-point lead to LSU, and now it looks like they might make the playoff at 2 losses because they hand Nick Saban his worst loss, or his second worst loss as a coach at Alabama. Get better over the course of the year, win some competitive games. Like, Brian Kelly just isn't. He's too not predictable is not the word, but he's too he's what you expect to happen. He doesn't surprise you at all. Things don't get better, and they don't, except for last year, they don't necessarily get worse. It just kind of goes like, you can honestly look at your schedule like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, or so, whatever. Or you can, we did pretty much this year, aside from the Southern Cal. What did we say at the beginning of the year? Hardest games are going to be Georgia, Southern Cal, Miami, Stanford, maybe Michigan State. And those tough games, we beat Southern Cal somehow, but murdered them because they're pretenders and all that. But the other 3 that we said we were going to lose, we lost. Things just need to be less predictable. And for God's sake, if we play LSU in a bowl game, I will just murder something. We're both 9-3, and a tale of 2 football teams. LSU is ecstatic to be 9-3. Especially, look at how LSU's win. They were 3-2. They lost by 30 to Mississippi State, and then they lost to Troy. People are like, Troy is the best team in the state of Alabama. You heard it here. It's a fact. The transitive property is never wrong.
Never, ever.
Except when it is. Because there's circles of suck
LSU,
and all.
LSU, Auburn.
And apparently, Howard beat someone who beat Troy, so Howard better than Alabama confirmed? Something like that. Anyway,
Howard should be playing for the national championship.
I think Troy's going to win the Sun Belt the way things are looking. But LSU, 3-2, everyone's like, shit. Things are bad. Coach O was a mistake. But what happens? LSU got better. The offense developed. They found an identity. They played Alabama really well. LSU lost that game, but it was competitive. If LSU had a better quarterback than Purdue transfer, and Danny Etling has done fantastic, about as much as you can ask him to do. But not even Air Canada could help Danny Etling beat Alabama. like if LSU had a better quarterback, which seems to be the broken record statement of all sports analysts for the past 10 years, who knows what would have happened? I mean, LSU finished 9-3 and beyond thrilled at the outcome. I mean,
be ready. Be ready. You might be getting a graduate transfer quarterback next year.
From Nebraska?
Nebraska.
Oh.
Nebraska's quarterback for this last year was Tanner Lee, pro style, transferred in from Tulane. He's from somewhere down in Louisiana originally, but he's going to graduate from Nebraska this year, and Scott Frost doesn't run a pro style offense. So
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if that'll happen. I think LSU's pretty excited about about the possibility of Miles Brennan developing, but I'd be open to a grad transfer if he's good. I mean, I'll let anyone play quarterback if they can beat Alabama. So please, no terrible people. But I mean, you look at how the season's ended. LSU loses to Alabama in a close game, comes back to beat Auburn before that, fantastic, and then just absolutely dominates their last 3 games between Arkansas, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. You have Odell Beckham Jr. saying, "Oh, Discord froze."
print screening. No, shoot.
I'm moving now. Oh wait, we're back. We're back. Okay. The world did not end. Jimbo Fisher did not nuke Lafayette on his way to College Station. But I mean, you have LSU rocking. They're killing A&M as is tradition. A&M loves tradition. Losing to LSU is probably my favorite of all of them. Even tops only male cheerleaders. Weird. And that midnight yell stuff. Apparently, losing to LSU is everyone's favorite A&M tradition. Let's be honest. But you have Odell Beckham in the student sections, getting the band to play neck and saying, if there's a fine, I'll pay for it. And you know what? They let the band play neck. It was fantastic. Everyone was like, that is how I would love to end the season. I'd love to end. Can we end the season in California with Notre Dame Notre Dame had a very good crowd in Palo Alto, as they always do. Notre Dame always has a good crowd in the Coliseum at the end of the year, because let's face it, by the end of the year, USC is probably, either in good shape or they're just absolute toast. And then Stanford doesn't have real football fans. Like, let's be real. They don't care. It just means more. Although that is an SEC catchphrase, it definitely means more to Notre Dame than big. We travel well to California. Like, can we just win a game on the road and have that stupid Stanford mob band cry themselves back to their library and study to be complete nerds? And then we have Notre Dame just playing like Shipping Up to Boston and Rudy music and playing Chicago, our Chicago tunes and all that. Having the Notre Dame band just play a little something and just party in Palo Alto as the night comes to an end. Like, can we end the season on a high note? Like, not just bowl season. Like, Notre Dame could very well win their bowl game. That'd be exciting. But can we, finish that? Can we come out of Thanksgiving week happy to be Notre Dame fans for once at some point? Please. Brian Kelly. Like, I don't think, obviously we can't get a good coach this season because the coach at Carousel is big and violent this off season. It's honestly better to be the only major program looking for a coach than one of like a bajillion like it is this year. I'm not saying fire Brian Kelly this year, but Brian Kelly, for the love of God, be a better coach. Which I feel like
it would be a shame if he got an NFL offer.
I'd cry myself to sleep. Tears of joy.
Jay, he was about that close to the New York Giants job a couple of years ago.
Please.
Brian Kelly. I can already see it now. Brian Kelly going to the Chicago Bears, and I have to deal with the same thing all over again.
Do it.
Do it now. Too predictable.
Please.
It's too predictable.
I would love to see. That'd be hilarious.
Oh my God. I'd be happy for Notre Dame, but I'd be sad for the Bears at the same time.
Plot twist: Bears win a Super Bowl. Mitch Trubisky develops. Oh my God.
Oh my God, man.
So, I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, you can't say. I mean, you can say Brian Kelly's had some very disappointing stats. Those halftime not comebacks, those big game losses. Like, be better, please, so we don't have to fire you and fight with Tennessee for Mike Norvell or some crap like that. Like, just be better. I know that's like a dumb thing to say, but get good. Develop a quarterback. Get better over the course of a season. Make adjustments at halftime. You know, you go in the locker room, it's not just for a little bathroom break and a snack. Like, you're supposed to be motivating and change up some X's and O's or something. Like, do something. And for the love of God, don't go to a bowl game against LSU. I can't do that. Just, no.
Please.
Trent, I will go to where I will find where you live and come just destroy your home if LSU and Notre Dame end up at a bowl game together. So we'll see how that goes. So we had a question. Someone actually I tweet out before every recording, hey, ask questions. We had a question. Tim kind of replied to it on Twitter, but second, one of the best sports minds in my family, Robert Rhymes, my good old cousin, who's in high school, asked, who do we think will make the college football playoff? Now, I feel like everyone in a conference championship is alive except for Stanford, and add in Alabama to some extent. I feel like Alabama will get in just because the college football gods hate us, because Kirk Herbstreit says Alabama's the best. I don't give a shit who's the best. They lost to Auburn. They should be out, but Alabama will be in. That's neither here nor there. The easiest scenario to set the college football playoff. SEC champions in no matter what. I don't care if it's Auburn. Auburn deserves to be in after who they've beaten. They lost it, and especially if Clemson wins the ACC. Regardless, the ACC winner will be in. Both of them are one loss. The other team will be out. Wisconsin. So the easiest scenario, the best case scenario for the playoff committee, they'll have the least controversy: SEC champion, ACC champion, Wisconsin, and Oklahoma. Assuming Wisconsin and Oklahoma win their conference. If that doesn't happen, a lot of people are going to be pissed off. Because then, what if Southern Cal wins? Should they be in? What if, Ohio State? Like, there's going to be a debate, Ohio State versus one-loss Alabama. And you know what I have to say? One-loss Alabama. One-loss Alabama didn't lose by 55 to Iowa. They lost to Auburn, who, assuming in this scenario, is also going to be in the playoff. So, I don't know. Who do I think is going to be in the playoff? I do think it will be. I kind of think Georgia will. Auburn killed them. I don't know. It's going to be the SEC champion no matter what. It's going to be the ACC champion. And I think Oklahoma's going to win the Big 12. I think Ohio State will beat Wisconsin, and therefore Alabama will be in the playoff. That's my prediction. It just means more, Trent. It just means more. Well then, who do you think is going to be in the playoff, Trenton? If I'm
UCF. I'm just kidding.
I'm calling the upset. TCU over Oklahoma messes everything up. Then with that, I'm going to pick Ohio State over Wisconsin. So Ohio State, Bama, Clemson, and which one am I? Oh,
the SEC
Auburn.
champion.
Auburn.
You think? Yeah, here's the thing. Rematches tend to go the other way in college football. Except for this.
Hence TCU over Oklahoma.
I will agree with you that. I don't know if Stanford will beat Southern Cal. I hope they do. I'd love for the bowl game to be like LSU USC, because that means it's not LSU Notre Dame. Like, ideally, I'd want LSU to play like Michigan or USC, or like who's good in the? Is anyone good in the ACC? Like 3 losses, or like one of the Big 12 teams or something like that. And Notre Dame to not play USC. Notre Dame Michigan in a bowl game would be lit.
That'd be so lit.
Do it, bowl committees. You know you want to.
Michigan isn't good enough for us.
Shut up. That's the point. Sell tickets. It'll be like the Citrus Bowl, LSU versus Louisville. Big time matchup. People think it's going to be close, but it's not going to be. we'll destroy Michigan because they don't have a quarterback. Our quarterback can't throw, but at least he can run. Their quarterback just sucks all around.
No.
Like, there was a Reddit thread, who's the better quarterback, O'Corn or a little can of corn? And I think a can of corn turned out to be a better quarterback.
Can't confirm. My cousin who's a Michigan was out during the game that he thinks an actual corn cob would be better at quarterback than John O'Corn.
Rip. Trin, can y'all send an ear up to Ann Arbor for them? I hear they need some. Tim, who's going to make the playoff? And kind of sort of connected to that, who's going to win the conference championships?
So I think Auburn's going to beat Georgia. I think Auburn's just too hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Auburn will be in. I like Clemson over Miami in the ACC title game. They're in. I still want to say that Oklahoma's going to get in beating TCU. Here's the thing. If Oklahoma wins, obviously they'll be in. And I think Ohio State is then screwed. Even if Ohio State wins the Big Ten, Alabama would get in because if Oklahoma loses to TCU, and even if Ohio State wins...
Oklahoma looks like a worse team and they lost to them.
Yeah, because they would both finish with 2 losses. But Oklahoma beat Ohio State head-to-head by 15 in Columbus. To me, that doesn't look good at all. I think Ohio State, for them to have a chance, they need Oklahoma to win. They need Oklahoma to win, and Ohio State obviously has to beat Wisconsin to win the Big Ten. I think that's the only way that Ohio State gets in. If not, then I think obviously easy scenario is Oklahoma and Wisconsin. And if Oklahoma still wins and Wisconsin loses, then probably Alabama would get in. And if both Oklahoma and Ohio State lose, well then we've got ourselves team chaos.
Oh yeah, I feel like we kind of all agree on at least one thing. There's only going to be one. Like I said, the dream scenario for the committee is Wisconsin, Oklahoma to win, and then they just take the SEC and the ACC champion, no matter who it is. If one of those, the Big Ten or the Big 12, go to Ohio State or TCU, I feel like that opens the door, and that's how Alabama gets in. If they don't, my hand's like stuck now. It's weird. If both of those games go strangely, Alabama's for sure in, and then it opens the debate: 2-loss Ohio State, 2-loss Oklahoma, 2-loss Southern Cal, assuming they beat Stanford.
And 2-loss TCU.
And 2-loss TCU. I don't think 2-loss TCU gets in. 2-loss Oklahoma will definitely be ahead of 2-loss Ohio State. So I think the Buckeyes are screwed. They should be, because, and it would be poetic justice, because they got in without even winning their division last year, and the Big Ten championship doesn't matter. We should still be in. We're the better team. Our mascot's a poisonous tree nut. We're so cool, and all that dumb shit. And it would just be fantastic for them to be, you know what? We won our conference. We won the Big Ten. We're really good. We deserve to get in. And we're just like, didn't matter last year.
Maybe you guys should have thought about that when you guys got wrecked by 55 against Iowa.
Yeah. The first time Iowa's ever done something good for the country.
No, false. I've been to 2 Iowa games in my life. That Ohio State game, and last year, I don't know if you remember, Michigan had 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
One to Ohio State, one to Iowa and Kinnick.
Thank you, Iowa.
Don't mess with the Hawkeyes at home when they're playing a top 10 team.
Please.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh my, it's unbelievable. Also, my hand's still stuck, which is funny. My hand's here. I have 3 hands. Good old graphical glitches. Discord, please fix it. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. How the conference title games go. I really hope Stanford beats USC, because just as much as I'm mad at Stanford, I hate USC that much more. I want Wisconsin to beat Ohio State because I'd love for them just to cry their way over to like a Orange Bowl or something. Clemson over the U, and I do think Auburn will beat Georgia. I don't think Georgia can win that rematch. And TCU, Oklahoma for me is a toss-up. I do think Oklahoma will pull it off, but who knows? Rematches are weird. All hail Team Chaos. So, yep. Oh, God, it's been an hour and a half. 90-minute episode. We could go on forever. Tim, shall we just let's just do a little bit of a lightning round. Shout out to Mike Bray and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish men's basketball team, ranked in the top 5, champions of Hawaii, winners of the Maui Invitational. Fantastic job by Mike Bray and his squad. Our basketball team's in mid-season form. Congratulations to the Notre Dame hockey team. 9 straight wins, including a sweep over number 6 Minnesota this weekend. Irish hockey's big. And women's basketball is also ranked number 3. Apparently, maybe Jack Schwarbrick is doing a decent job. Maybe the problem does rely with the football team. But shout out to the Notre Dame sports that are actually holding top 5 rankings. Brian Kelly, take notes. Poor LSU didn't exactly do well at Maui. Got destroyed by the Irish. Beat Michigan, so suck at Michigan. And then lost to Marquette. LSU basketball still has a long way to go. I do think Will Wade is going to do a good job there. They also did lose their best player in the first possession against Notre Dame. So that definitely is going to hurt the Bayou Bengals. But SEC basketball is going to be a little more interesting this year. I don't know if y'all saw this, but while Alabama was losing the Iron Bowl, Alabama basketball was on the road in Minnesota, or not in Minnesota, against Minnesota. It was in the tournament in Brooklyn, I do believe. And there was a benches clearing brawl, and the bench got tossed, so Alabama only had 5 players. One player fouled out, and one player got injured. Alabama was playing 3-on-5, came back and made it a competitive game. They were getting killed, and they only lost by 6 points. So, at least, Nick Saban must have accidentally been a basketball coach for a weekend. That's the only explanation. Or, his team has just been chugging rat poison. So, quick shout out there. I think Trenton, did Nebraska volleyball get snubbed out of his top seed in the tournament or something?
Yeah, they won the Big Ten, which is debatably the toughest conference in terms of volleyball. But yeah, they got placed as the 5th seed for the tournament.
You hate to see that. Shout out to Notre Dame volleyball. Shout out to Notre Dame volleyball for making the tournament too. Clearly, like I said, all sports are firing on all cylinders except for football, which 9-3 is pretty good. Hopefully they don't again. Please do not pair them against LSU. For the love of God, we've been through this before. Just give it a 10-year grace period or something. Save it for a playoff, hopefully. NFL is NFL. Saints are actually doing well. Rip your Bears. Trenton, you're a Steelers fan, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Steelers are pretty good, except the AFC's trash, so is that saying much?
Yeah, they're the worst-looking 9-2 team I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. So
thank you for being there last night, though. That helps.
Wait, didn't the Steelers lose to the Bears?
They did.
Yes, they did.
They did.
There are 2 losses this year, I think, against the Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Rip.
Come on.
So
that's what I'm telling you. My luck. This is what's going to happen. They're going to fire John Fox, and then they'll hire Brian Kelly. Telling you, I'm just waiting for it.
Someone has to take one for the team.
I mean, bear down, Chicago Bears. Pride and joy of Illinois, right, Tim?
Oh yes.
Oh, God help us.
Oh, it's not Lovey? Not Lovey down at Urbana-Champaign?
Listen, I would love to have Lovey back as the best. I've been telling people, I think firing Lovey Smith will go down as one of the worst decisions in Chicago Bears history. Just throw that out there.
The Illini thought that was the case too. Look at how that worked out for him.
The Illini agree with you for sure. What do we have coming up? We have conference championships coming up this week. Notre Dame versus Michigan State, the ACC Big Ten Challenge up there in Lansing of the Eastern Variety. That is on Thursday. Am I correct in that, Tim?
Yeah, it's Thursday night.
So, we know the Irish basketball are big. We'll see how big they are.
Top 5 matchup, man.
Absolute. Look, it's unbelievable. I mean, look on the ticker right now. Notre Dame number 5 after Villanova. Suck at Florida at number 6. Fuck Florida. I just need to have an I hate Florida episode. I feel like Tim, should we do an I hate Florida episode at some point?
Yeah, I need you to go ahead and do that. You have a lot more beef on Florida than I probably do. So
Scott Strickland can just suck a massive gator cock. He's just an awful human being in terms of his decisions as athletic director. He's great for Florida. He's terrible. He is negative sportsmanship, if anything. Just unbelievable, terrible human being. I hope Dan Mullen gets worse at Florida, and it turns out Mississippi State's a resurgent program or something. Screw the Gators. Congratulations on not making a bowl game. Suck it. Everyone, good luck to your college football teams in their conference championship games. Or if you're a Florida State fan looking for bowl eligibility, let's go Noles. Or let's go Warhawks, depending on how you want to look at it. Any closing remarks from our special guest?
Go Big Red.
Go
Scott
Big
Frost.
Red. Go Big Red. Tim?
Brian Kelly, please do better in the month of November. That's all I'm asking.
Just win our bowl game. Even if it is LSU, I hope it's not. But please be Notre Dame, Michigan, in Orlando or something. That'd be awesome. Win the damn bowl game.
No trip to Disney World? I'm throwing that out there.
I mean, I went last year for the LSU Citrus Bowl. Fantastic A&M, would definitely go again if the opportunity presents itself. Let's go Irish, beat Spartans. We're a basketball school, apparently. Also hockey, although I couldn't. If you held a gun to my head, I'd just guess a random Big Ten team because conference play. So, yes. That's an episode, boys and girls. Coaching Carousel is a turnin'. Scott Frost.
Amen.
Scott Frost in Nebraska's got to be a done deal.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
We might have you back on whenever that's finalized. Trenton, thank you for joining us, General.
No problem.
General Zanotic.
Later.
It's been a great episode. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Hope to see you on the next one. Be sure to follow us on our social medias. Trenton, you don't really have any major social media that people should know about.
Nope, I am good.
Okay. If you want to know what Trenton thinks, just ask me. I'll make something up. Anyways, thanks everyone so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. See you, nerds.